Hello, champions. It's AOC. Get comfy and spend the next hour being thoroughly entertained. This is The Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve. If you like podcasts that make you laugh, provoke thought, and sometimes even make you horny, you're going to love these boys. The Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve. Come for knowledge, come for the pleasure, stay because you're tied up.
That's odd to say. Like, we're not forcing anyone to be here, but we appreciate that you are. Welcome to The Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve. Another fantastic podcast is forthcoming.
I would be more than happy to tie up AOC. You know what's funny is I sort of zoned out at the beginning of that. I was writing some notes and I just tuned in. It was like, who's that sexy voice talking right there?
Dude, do you think she's sexy?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Dude, let's just say I think Justin Trudeau's a great-looking guy, so we can be equal on this playing field. I'm not objectifying women, but AOC is so hot, dude. They just recently did this thing of, like, through the years, and it has her dancing in college at 25 and then takes her to her current age. She's just getting better looking, dude, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes. And I agree, by the way. It's not objectifying just to have two eyeballs and comment on something like that. I was out at a little social mixer a couple of days back, and a woman started telling me about this, celebrity Hollywood dude who she just thinks is so good looking. Stephen Amell, I think is his name. He played Arrow on the DC. I don't know. It's a comic book thing, and I told her, I'm like, hey, that dude is good looking. You're right. And she was like, that's weird for you to say. I'm like, I don't have to be gay to have two eyeballs and tell you that, Brad Pitt's a good looking dude. David Duchovny's a good looking dude. That Stephen Amell dude, like, he's a good looking guy. Like, I got eyes.
Yeah, and we use them, dude. We use them, and I'm definitely using them on AOC. And I also like what she has to say from time to time. So There you go.
Speaking of liking what people have to say, welcome to the show. It's The Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve.
Yeah, go check out our socials if you're ever in need of a little dose of something that's awesome. You can find us on TikTok. You can find us on Reddit and YouTube and all the others, but those are our big three.
Yes. And, it's funny. We've been talking about for the last several episodes that, in this election season, like things have been going well for us on the social medias. Our TikTok page is blowing up. We got thousands of followers now. We're closing in on like 30,000 likes. We're getting, thousands of views on there, and that's been really good. YouTube's a little hit and miss. YouTube, I've noticed, the closer we get to election day, the less they want to push our political content.
Really? You think that's what it is?
Has to be. I mean, I have posted multiple videos that just either get no views or it gets a couple of views and then stops. I mean, 400 or 500 views out of our political has been the best. But then I like post a Star Wars video the other day and boom, takes off. Like, really?
Well, people do have to make a decision, right? Of like, are we going to just swim in this ocean of politics right now and be one of many? Or are we going to concentrate on other content right now so people will blow us up in that regard?
Yeah, that's fair. And that's been part of the pro and the con of learning these different social media platforms. They all have different algorithms. They're all looking for different keywords and tags, and some push political, some push pop culture more. I mean, it's highly confusing, to say the least.
Yeah, it's all over the place. Like we said, I don't know if we're old or it's just tough. But yeah, it's confusing to say, oh, why is this getting views? This isn't. Oh, that worked great last week, but not this week. Like, there's no rhyme or reason.
Absolutely. One of our videos on TikTok, they got 58,000 views. I mean, it'll get 5 views on another platform. It's really weird.
Yeah.
And a couple of months back, I've got a teenage son who is pretty social media savvy, and he's very fascinated by what we're doing with our show on the various social media platforms, especially TikTok. Like, he's got a lot of opinions on when we should be posting and what the TikTok world is into and all that. But a couple of months ago, my son Crosby recommended that we go on Reddit. And Reddit was a totally unknown thing to me. I'm not on there personally. Are you?
No.
Right?
I have an account to look at certain things, but I only go for very specific reasons. It's not a platform that I scroll very often.
Right. And it's not a typical social media because you don't really go on there and post pictures of your family vacation or whatever. It's really just a bunch of individual boards. So you can have an account, but people don't follow your account like they would on Twitter or something. You just have an account, so you have access. You can then create a board or forum or whatever they're called, and that's what Reddit is. It's just all these different niche little boards that you can then go post on or subscribe to, so you're seeing what people are sharing on a Marvel page or a political page or a dirt bike page.
A lot of the times, if I Google something that's specific, like, I don't know, about a watch or a barber pole or something like that, like a specific topic will come up on Reddit, because you can find stuff that is so specific, and then you can go read that board to get really good information about specific stuff. So it's great for some things as an old man, but the younger generation uses Reddit a lot, from what I can tell.
Yeah, and every topic's out there. I didn't even know at first, but porn is all over that thing. I mean, so there's anything and everything, but it's all very page specific. And one of the struggles I was having, posting all this stuff, not knowing Reddit, I've been trying to learn what Reddit really is and how it all works. And some of that is the philosophical of what pages are good to post on and not. But some of it is practical. And I've been saying on this show that you can't track your views on Reddit. When you post a video, I can't see how many people watched it. I can only see the likes or the dislikes in the comments. So, I've been trying to just do some rough math. Like, okay, if we got 1,000 likes, I'm guessing that means maybe 5,000 views or something. Like, I've just been trying to guesstimate it.
Sure.
And the other day, I stumbled on the fact that on Reddit, you can absolutely see how many views your content gets. You have to go to your page, and then there's this little analytics button that it looks like nothing. It looks like 3 little lines. I guess that's supposed to be a graph chart or something. So literally, like last Friday or Saturday night, it's like 11 o'clock at night, and I'm up late fumbling through Reddit, and I realized that, oh crap, you can see your analytics. You can see how many views you've been getting.
I started getting all these texts from Harness, and they're just like, hey, here's a little meme we did last week. It's got 128,000 views. I'm like, what, dude? So yeah, that was crazy for you to find that button, and I'm glad you did.
It's insanity. It turns out Reddit is by far our biggest social media thing happening out there. We were ecstatic, appropriately so, when one of our videos on TikTok got 57,000 views. That's a lot of people for a niche like liberal politics.
Yeah.
We, in the last 30 days on Reddit, with our memes and our videos, all of our content we're posting, we have like 350,000 views.
Dude, that is nuts. For us to just be sleeping on it and be like, yeah, I guess Reddit's cool.
Oh my God. The one thing where I was like, oh crap, this meme we did, which is really just us responding to, a TikTok post. It was, their thing and our response, which was clever and funny. I thought, let's just post this thing and see if it gets any traction. It got up to like 7,000 likes. And so I was like, 7,000 likes, maybe it got viewed 10,000 times. No, it got viewed 170,000 times.
So nuts, dude. Your averages that you were guesstimating were way low, dude.
Oh my God. So we have like 250,000 views going on Reddit right now, just in the last 30 days. So Reddit is huge for us. And again, like our page, we don't have a bunch of subscribers, but that's not how that world works. You just want your content to be viewed. And, like our videos in the last month got like 100,000 views, and these memes we've been doing have 200,000 views and then some. I mean,
and in a very short amount of time, dude.
Yes, that's the other thing, man. I mean, we posted a video just earlier today, something stupid about Star Wars. We were, making Star Wars jokes, and it was a funny thing. And so I posted on a Reddit, Star Wars page. It shot up to 3,000 views in like 28 minutes. That takes forever on TikTok or anywhere else to get anywhere near that kind of number. People are on there and they're involved.
Yes.
And, our biggest videos on TikTok were, 57,000 for one political prediction. We have like 23,000 for Brewski's bye quitting. Another prediction video that 12,000 or something. Like, those are the numbers we were pulling on there. We've got multiple videos on Reddit with 20, 30, 40,000 views. We've got, one, like I said, the total views just on the videos was close to 100,000 views. So, those are actual like real numbers. That's mind blowing. And I love that we had no freaking idea that so many people are viewing it.
I do too. I love that we were sleeping on it, dude. But as far as Reddit goes, what do we think?
It's wonderful.
Yes, it is. It's wonderful, delightful. And thanks for all the love on Reddit.
Although I will say, as I told you before the show off air, like, starting to affect my mental health a little bit, because I am just in debate argumentative mode now constantly, because that's part of what you got to do on some of these things is, the more you comment, the more people comment back, the more the views go up. Like, the engagement is a good thing, but it's weighing on me. And I literally just read an article. Someone interviewed Kamala Harris, and the question from the interviewer was basically, what do you do to preserve your mental health?
Yeah.
You know what she said the number one thing she does not do to preserve her mental health is?
Look at social media.
The comment section specifically.
Yeah.
She said, my number one tip for mental health, do not read the comment section. And that's all I'm doing right now.
Yeah. It has me worried, dude, because I know that that will get to you. And if you notice that it's starting to get to you, it's probably not a good thing.
It's a catch-22 though, because it's part of our gig at the moment, and probably indefinitely in this whole podcasting social media world. But it's that classic thing we were talking about, like when you get in an argument with someone, like you spend the next several hours, cycling it through your brain. Then you're like, this is what I should have said. You think of something like, I've been out riding my dirt bike, I've been falling asleep, and I just am cycling through. What could I say? What's a good comeback? Like,
it's not good.
It's not good. I was up on a mountaintop the other day. I rode my dirt bike out hours, and I'm sitting there on my phone like, let me reply to this person. I got to throw more fuel on this fire. And then I'm riding like, oh, I should have brought up the political angle of it. I'm like, you got to focus on the fucking road in front of you, man. Like, whew, it's going a little crazy.
Dude, you got to give, I hate to tell you this, but you got to give, if you're going to continue to comment, like I'll write comments if you want me to, I'll write comments on there, but they won't be the same, which I guess is fine, but we don't write the comments on there like they're coming from Steve. They're coming from Nick. They're just coming from the show. So I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, I waver. Some of them I phrase in the I think this or I, and then eventually I'll point out, like, yeah, it's Steve talking here, because I don't want these people coming after you too. So, but other times I phrase it as we, like I'm some intern working on it or something. Like, well, Nick and Steve said this.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. We should hold hours. I think that's the way it should be done. Like,
both go insane.
You can't comment on anything unless you're in your hours, dude, 5 to 8 or whatever it is.
I don't know if I can do that. I mean, part of me feels this compelling mission to help us grow, but I also am a debater. I am an arguer, and I stopped it in my personal life on social media, but now I have this whole new toy where, yes, I want to debate and argue.
But are you addicted to it, dude? Be honest.
I think so. I mean, they talk about the dopamine hit you get. And quite frankly, some of these memes that, the one that got 170,000 views, it was a joke I wrote. And, I'm a little impressed that, something clever I came up with has been viewed by this many people.
Hey! Yeah, totally, dude. I get it.
Seinfeld all of a sudden, where he was like, Seinfeld loves the art of a well-written joke.
Right.
Was it crafted well? And some of these little zingers, they're really well crafted. So, yeah, I do. I want to see the response, and I want to argue with people and all this stuff. And the thing I was telling you before the show that I wanted to expand on is Reddit is unique because you can unlike something, you can downvote something. And years ago, Mark Zuckerberg said that there will never be a dislike button on Facebook. He compromised by giving you the new, like, you can be angry about something or laugh at or whatever. But he has said Facebook will never have a dislike button because that breeds negativity. And if you're a company advertising on Facebook and you're allowed to downvote that,
yeah,
it's toxic. You can't have someone pay to advertise and then show them going into the negatives on likes or dislikes. That's toxic right there.
But I feel like a lot of people that are advertising on Facebook have all that shit turned off. Like comments are turned off, likes are turned off, unless they're positive, unless it's a thumbs up. Because like you said, haven't we just replaced the thumbs down with the angry face? If I don't like something, that's what I do.
Yeah, kind of. And some advertisers do block stuff, but I've seen plenty that have all sorts of negative comments right next to their paid advertisement.
Yeah.
Which I have said before, at the radio station, I would never sell a client airtime. And then right after the commercial airs, I come on and like, here's 5 negative phone calls that hate your company. Let me just put all this together. You're paid advertising, a bunch of jackasses screaming at you now. Like, it's absurd, but it's a thing.
Yeah.
But the Reddit thing, so this is interesting. Reddit has up and down votes. So if 100 people like it and 50 people dislike it, it now shows 50 likes. It shows the net gain. But if you have 100 likes and 200 dislikes, it's going to show that you have a negative number, which just makes you look bad.
Yeah.
I've been watching a bunch of videos on how to monetize some of these sites and some advice on how to grow on these pages. And this one social guru dude had a really interesting comment about Reddit, that he said that if you are a regular type of business, do not advertise on Reddit, because of the negative votes you can get, unless someone in your company will be part of the Reddit community and go on there and push back on the negative comments. If you engage with the comment section, you'll end up gaining more positivity, more support. The Reddit community loves debating and arguing. So if you just let it go and it goes negative, it's going to snowball that way. But if you get in there and push back, you can course correct, basically. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, that's interesting because I have seen that, and it always makes me feel a little better when you see somebody that's a paid advertisement, like, oh, your product sucks, dude. I tried it, didn't do anything for my dog. And then you see somebody come on from the company and say, like, I'm so sorry it didn't work for you. Like, we'd be happy to give you a refund. Like, suddenly they're in my good graces again.
Right, exactly. So you can turn the negative into a positive. And then the other positives, the people that already liked you, if they see you in there, then they feel inclined to join in on your comments and have your back and stuff. Like, that is Reddit. Reddit is the most argumentative social media platform tenfold. And
wow.
I want to get in there for the fun of it and the fighting of it. But yeah, it's kind of draining on me. I just saw some dude on YouTube, and it's going everywhere. It's some young liberal dude. I don't know his name. I should, but young guy, smart dude, liberal. And he just did a YouTube thing where he debated a round table of Trump supporters. And it was just, he would sit across from one, 5 minutes, next one, 5 minutes, next one, 5 minutes. And everyone's
good, too.
You've seen it, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, and everyone's praising him for, wow, like he sat at a round table and just debated person after person after person. That is literally what I am doing day in and day out right now. I argue with this person next, argue with this person next, I'm doing way more than 20 people a day, that's for sure.
Oh, you are? You're doing more than 20 people a day? Does your girlfriend know that?
Trump supporters are trying to screw us, not the other way around. Okay.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing, dude, is, you know what, for those MAGA types, it's easy for them to go on and post a rebuttal because it doesn't have to be true. It doesn't have to be factual. But the shit you're posting on there is showing the facts, showing the breadcrumbs, showing the trail. So you are working a lot harder.
Yeah. But I don't know. I'm definitely enjoying it on a lot of levels, but I just need to find a way to detox and just stop it and just try to focus on something else. So I'll get better. We can both be in there for all I freaking care. I mean, let's just double team it, man.
Yeah, tell me what it is, dude. If it is that helps, then I'll jump in there and, say, I don't want you to you'll get in a weird mental place. I know you will, dude.
We'll see. At least through election season, I feel like I got to maintain this pace. But yeah. We'll see.
All right. Well, it's your choice, Stephen. And I came across an article that will also discuss choices as we roll on in the podcast. Welcome to The Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve. I was reading this whole thing and, wow, it really made me think, dude. As I'm not old, but I'm getting older. I'm obviously thinking about life more than I did when I was in my 20s. This list talks about if you make these 12 choices, you'll regret them later in life.
Interesting. Okay.
Do you have regrets? Like, I mean, I know everybody does, but like, do you have a specific group of regrets that you're like, damn, shouldn't have done that?
No, I don't know. I mean, I constantly second guess what life would have been like if I had stayed in the rock band, or what life would have been like. What if I had never moved to Seattle to start my radio career? What if I moved to Atlanta? I mean, I moved to Seattle. I met you. I met my now ex-wife. My kids were conceived there, or at least one of them was. Like,
yeah.
Yes, it's not so much that I maybe regret some of my choices, but I constantly look back at the forks in the road, and I wonder, like, man, one different decision and my entire life would be different. Maybe worse, maybe better, who knows? But yeah, I think about it.
I think it's impossible not to. There's a great movie. I think I've mentioned it on the podcast before. It's called Sliding Doors with Gwyneth Paltrow. And it basically is just they set the analogy into movement on film by her missing a subway, and then she catches the same subway. And the movie just goes back and forth to where her life would be if she didn't make that subway, right?
Absolutely.
So we think about that shit all the time. Yeah. And like you said, I think it's important to point out, like, for better or for worse, might have been better, might have been worse. Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes it is timing. I had a car accident a couple of years ago that unraveled a whole series of events. And if I had been just 1 second earlier or later, I wouldn't have been in that car accident. And that, of course, makes my mind boggle.
Yeah, dude, because it would have changed a lot of stuff in your life, whether it happened later or, whatever. It's weird to think about that shit.
Absolutely. The day I decided to move to Seattle. What if I decided I'm going to move to, someplace? My entire life would be different. So, yeah.
You may be dead, dude, because if we make different choices, who knows? We may have been hit by a car, whatever. I can't tell you how many times that I've been in traffic and, we were coming home from my mom's real late one night a few months ago. And right in front of us on the highway, a tree, it was windy, fell over, hit a car right in front of us, dude. Yeah. Killed the driver. Killed him.
Yeah. Life can come down to split seconds like that. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about these 12 choices. If you make these choices, you'll regret them later in life. That's for sure, from what this article says. This article is put together by Stephen Phillips Waller, a man of three names. Must know what he's talking about, right?
Stephen with a V or a PH?
V.
Oh, that's the good kind. So let's see if my fellow Steve is right or wrong here.
All right. He starts his article out with talking about regrets and that nobody wants regrets. So think about some of these things. The first thing on this list is choosing to neglect your dreams and passions. Obviously, that's something I would hope you would know that you'll regret later in life if you put them all to the side. It can be easy to set some of your dreams and passions to the side because, well, they're scary. Sometimes you got to take a leap of faith and, jump off a cliff and you think about, it could end up bad. So you don't do it. You put it to the side.
That's a double-edged sword right there. My life will attest to it. I've spent my whole life doing nothing but chasing my dreams and passions, being a rock star, being a radio star. And some of them have panned out. Some of them have not. But I don't feel like I'd be living my life if I wasn't going after these things. But I often wonder, maybe I should have just become an accountant or something safe and normal and just worked for some corporation, get a steady paycheck. Like, all of this dream chasing has been a blessing in so many ways, and it's led to low points in my life like no other thing has either.
It's funny, dude, because, we're both in radio, so we could relate to this, but people will say like, it must be such an awesome job, dude. That sounds so much fun. This was in the year 2000, so radio was a little more impressive than it is now. But people used to always say that shit, like, it must be so great. But what we had to go through to keep that greatness, which was low wages, unstable employment, off hours, there's a payoff for it all.
Absolutely. And we had achieved our goal. This very podcast used to be a syndicated radio show, and then things happen out of our control, and it's just all gone one day. Like, that was fun.
Yes. But to never go after your dreams, I would think you would surely have some regrets. I always try and put it in these terms. Deathbed, all right? If I'm fortunate enough to have a deathbed, like to not just die of a heart attack and fall, I try and think about what I will actually give an F about on my deathbed.
Yeah.
You think it's morbid to think that way?
No. And I think it's probably a good way to gauge what you do and don't go after in life. It's that old, like, it's better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all. Yeah. I would rather be able to say, like, I used to be in a rock band. I recorded albums. I played in front of sold-out crowds. Like, no, it didn't go where I wanted to, but I got to do that. We got to Howard Stern. We got to have a hot talk radio show in multiple markets. Like, no, it didn't pan out. I mean, we're back doing the podcast, but it didn't pan out the way we wanted to. But I would have rather have done that, have had one day to live that dream than to spend my life wondering what if.
I would rather have lived than not lived at all.
Yes, very wise.
These are just decisions that if you make these 12 bad boys, you're going to regret it later in life. And this one is called choosing someone else's version of success.
What's the example?
Have you ever tried to fit into a pair of shoes that are 2 sizes too small? They're uncomfortable, constricting, and ultimately not meant for you. I've never tried
to do that.
Right. That's 2 out of 2. We've never tried to put on too small of shoes. But that's the analogy.
What's the point? I don't get it. So I'm trying to fit somebody else's definition of success?
Putting on too small shoes is the same with success. If the success you're chasing is not yours, it won't feel right, comfortable, or enjoyable. So like maybe your parents wanted you to be a doctor because they thought, oh, that is the ultimate. That is, great success. And so you do it for them. Their version of success when you wanted to be a photographer, dude.
Right. I mean, my brain can't compute with that because my parents probably did want me to do different careers, but I decided to be a rock star and a radio star instead. So my brain cannot calculate what if I had just done what my parents wanted me to do. I literally can't rationalize that.
I think a lot of young adults go through that though, where their parents are like, oh yeah, this is what we want to do. And especially different cultures. I know that you're expected to do certain things and live someone else's dream. I know for some people, like say I wanted to be in a rock band and I never did it. So maybe I'll really pressure my kid. Like, your dad always wanted to play music. I wish you would go do it, try it out, like live for me.
Yeah, no, a lot of parents do that, and they're shitty parents. So, I don't know. The guy's saying don't do this, right? Don't try to fit into someone else's success mold.
That's right.
I'm going to concur with that one.
Stephen with a V has been pretty right on so far.
There you go. V for victory. Nice job, Stephen.
These are choices that you'll regret later in life. If you make these choices, you're screwed. How about choosing work before life? You've heard it before, work hard, play hard. But what happens when you work so hard that you forget to play? Well, you really screw yourself. It's the relentless hustle that blurs the boundaries between office and home, leaving little room for the simple joys that make living worthwhile.
Right. Again, this is a bit of a catch-22. I decided to choose careers that I felt would be fun, like being a musician and being in radio. And there is something to that. I always thought, like, if I wake up in the morning and I don't want to get out of bed and go to work, like, boy, is that a sign that you're in the wrong job. So I have chosen a path where that won't happen.
Most days.
Yes.
Has it worked out for you, dude?
No, not necessarily. No, I mean, yes, it has in a lot of ways, but there's also a catch-22 where, like in radio, I decided that being on air wasn't enough. I needed to do sales and become a general manager, and I made that mistake 10 plus years ago where that became all-consuming, and I really was putting my job ahead of everything else. I wasn't doing hobbies. I wasn't spending my time with my kids. I was making all this money to provide a nice house, but was I really enjoying that quality of life? Probably not. So, As we've talked about before, everything in life is balance. It's not bad to drink. You just can't drink to excess. It's not bad to enjoy your work. You just can't do it to excess.
Yeah.
My grandfather on his deathbed told my dad, I worked too much. Don't make the same mistake I did. And my dad was, older at that time. He had already screwed it up. So he immediately called me. It was like, I missed the opportunity for what my dad just said on his deathbed. So please don't you make that mistake.
Hey, that's so funny you say that. Because I think that is probably one of the number one thing you think about on your deathbed is how much time did I devote? Rachel works like a freaking maniac. And I mean, she's a really good provider and takes care of me and takes care of our little world here. And I appreciate it so deeply. At the same time, I tell her often, like, please, dude, slow down. My dad on his deathbed did not say, wish I would have worked more, dude. I wish I would have spent more time doing this, doing that at work. And you get to your deathbed, and that must be a real sinking feeling to know that you can't change things now. Because, like, right now, you and I, we can still change things if we want.
It still comes down to balance, though. Because some people are going to hear that. They're going to go the other way. Screw a career, man. I'm just going to live for the day. Like, you still got bills to pay. You're not having quality time with your kids if you can't take them to Disneyland or whatever it is. Like, so, again, balance on that one. But what he's literally saying of just putting career in front of life, like just blanket statement, that's not correct. Balance.
I think we would do so great in the European model. They don't work like we do. Not consistently anyway. They don't work like we do. It's pretty crazy.
Lazy bastards. We have a lot of European listeners. So you fucking lazy Europeans. We're jealous of you. We're very jealous.
Very jealous.
The 4-day work week they do over there, we need to bring that to America. It's so nice to have 3 days on a weekend. 2 is not enough.
when I'm in some of these other countries, not only 4-day work week, but Sundays, like a lot of the time, and it's not necessarily for Lord's Day or anything, but just Sundays. Like things are closed. You can't go to the grocery store on Sunday because you don't work on Sunday. Also, you be cruising around. Oh, it's noon, dude. There's a little paper sign on their door that says like, hey, closed for lunch noon to 1:30. You know, like take some time for yourself. That seems like a good way to live your life. Yeah. These are all choices you'll regret later in life if you make them now. Not choosing to take risks. This gets harder for me, dude, as I get older. When I was a younger man, I had no problem taking risk. And now I think about it too much before I do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just sitting here in my mind, like our career choices were very risky, you know, doing this whole radio thing and even right now with the podcast. Like, so we definitely have taken risks, but does that contradict some of the earlier advice of putting work and life ahead of each other? Like, what kind of I mean, bungee jumping, that's a risk, you know?
Yeah. No, and that's some of the things you need to think about. This says not taking risks may feel safe, but it also holds you back in a lot of different ways. It's the seductive comfort zone that lulls you into a false sense of security, shielding you from the thrill of new adventure and taste for sweet triumph. So it's all the little things in life that may be risky. You mentioned love. There's a lot of people who are just like, I'm good being single. And maybe that's the truth. But a lot of that comes out of the fear of being hurt again. So like taking risk can be, you know, in a lot of different things in your life. If you get too comfortable, they say it's not a good thing.
Yeah, it really comes down to, I guess, what the definition of risk is, because I could argue going to the grocery store is risky. You're driving on a road, could be a public shooting at the store.
Sure.
Like, we're all taking risks every day, but how far does he want you to take this? Is it the skydiving thing or starting a new career at age 50? Like, go ahead and take a risk.
Whether it's fear of failure, the dread of uncertainty, or the hesitance to step into the unknown, playing it safe is a silent symphony of regrets waiting to be composed. You'll never know what might be unless you release your tight grip on control and embrace the chances that float your way. Whether it's a job, whether it's a chance to move, you know, like, hey, we just talked about the great work weeks of European brothers and sisters. Why don't we take the chance, dude? I mean, life is too short. Why don't we go to Europe and stop talking about it?
Yeah, it's interesting. I read something the other day about, you know, if you're middle-aged and do you do the same hobbies? Do you have the same routines? Like break out of that and take a risk, try something new. On one level, like I get the philosophy, what they're saying, but also, yeah, I'm almost 50 and I know what I like. Like I don't have a lot of free time. So do I ride my dirt bike all the time? Do I go ski or play guitar? Like, yeah, I figured out that those are things I like. Should I abandon them for sake of trying something new? Like maybe every now and again, but you shouldn't give up on what you know you love.
Well, this is a great example, Steve, that Rachel has been all over me for the last week and a half that she wants to do the worm. She used to have a killer worm, you know, and
tequila drinking thing, what or dance move? What is the worm?
A dance move, yeah, doing the worm, you know, on the floor, like doing the.
Okay,
so
you guys are discussing.
She came to me maybe like a week and a half ago, and she was like, "I want to do the worm again. I used to do such a great worm." And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Well, you are a former breakdancer. You guys bust a move or what?
I told her, you can't do the worm right now. And, you know, I've known her since elementary school. So she did have a great worm at one time. But, you know, we're not in the shape right now to do the worm. If you want to do the worm, I would say you can do it. Maybe we just have to take some steps to get there, but let's take the risk and see if you still got it. But don't hurt yourself.
I love that that's her midlife crisis. We got to do the worm more often, man. We didn't worm enough.
Right. I think it really is a concern of hers. So she posted a video on TikTok and everything. Like, should I do the worm? You know, so.
Worm away then, girl. Go for it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna that. Like, oh, that would hurt my chest.
She told me last night, because we've been talking about it on and off throughout the week, because she's practicing, you know, getting back in shape for the worm. She told me that she used to, from a handstand, lower herself slowly down on her chest and start her worm out really slow. And I was like, what the F are you talking about, dude? I didn't know she had it.
Triathlon level, world fitness kind of thing. To even do a handstand, let alone be able to control your body weight at all. Like, wow.
Yeah. She used to do it. She's going to do it again. I have confidence in her.
She has a reality check coming her way, but it's okay.
We'll see. I told her, you've thrown your back out sneezing. Come on, dude. This could be dangerous.
I was just telling Kennedy how impressed you were when, speaking of skiing, when you saw me lay down on my skis, lay down on my back and like ski under a fence or something.
Yeah, because we were 30 and I couldn't believe you laid down.
Yeah, it's impressive, sure, but I don't think I could do that anymore. Like, in my mind, I know how to do it, but the thought of getting back up from the skis and that laying down, oh boy, I don't know, man.
Some crazy shit, dude. These are 12 choices. If you make them, you're going to regret it later in life. Choosing to live in your own head. I need an example.
Me.
Right. You know exactly what it means.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what his negative connotation is, but I feel like if you're not living in your head to some extent, if you don't have some internal monologue going on up there, if you're not thinking through things, I don't know any other way to function. So you don't want to exclusively live in your head, but the idea of just living in the moment is a very hippy-dippy, short-sighted thing to say.
You sound like my father. That's hippy-dippy.
Well, and as a current/former hippie guy, like, yeah, I'm calling that out. Like, there's a little bit of live for the day that is actually not smart at all.
All right. Well, Steve with a V, Stephen Philip Walker would say, living in your head can feel like being trapped in a maze of your own thoughts, constantly analyzing, overthinking, and second guessing. It's like having a never-ending conversation with yourself, but the problem is you're not always the best company.
See, I disagree. I think I'm funny. I think I'm insightful. I totally agree with myself. I think my mind is a beautiful place. So.
Yeah, I agree, dude. I think that you are doing just fine. So
don't. If you're a dumb person, that must be hell to be living up in that stupid head of yours.
Stephen with a V says your existence is played out in the unreality of your own mind, which is a place of grayness and anxiety, rather than the infinite, bright, diverse, often welcoming world around us. Get into life.
Interesting. I have thought before that if I end up in prison for some odd reason, I'm going to stab somebody on day one, because put me in solitary confinement. I think I'd be perfectly fine in there. Just alone with my own thoughts, I'd be fine.
That freaks me right the fuck out, dude. Do you really feel that way, that it wouldn't bug you?
Absolutely.
Oh, dude. Are you okay with silence?
Well, there wouldn't be silence because I am in my head all the time. There's always a monologue going in there. That's why I have some of these thoughts on this show that just spew out, because they're already been formulated up there.
But I mean external silence. Like you're fine with, just the sound of the air conditioning.
Yes. I mean, I spend a lot of time on mountaintops, contemplating the universe. For the most part, I'm fine falling asleep in total silence. But again, like, silence is relaxing to me. For years, I'm fine in the car if there's no music on, no talk radio, anything. When I was delivering pizzas once, my radio died. So I got very used to just being alone in my car, just with my own thoughts. I'm totally fine with it.
I think that's a superpower. Only because it gives me anxiety. I can't fall asleep in silence. And if the thought of it gives me so much anxiety that I'll find something to make noise, whether it's putting on, my phone as a sleep machine or something. Right. But I can't fall asleep to that silence. And if I was in solitary confinement, I think I could pull a couple of weeks, but I would die.
Yeah, it's interesting. No. That'd be way more preferred than forced socialization with those maniacs out in the gin pub.
Yeah. All right. Well, these are all choices, and maybe, they work for some and don't work so well for others. These are supposed choices that you'll regret later in life if you make them now. Choosing to talk down to yourself. Oh, dude. I couldn't agree more with this one, only because, really think about this for a second. I remember seeing a picture of myself in my 30s and being like, God, look how out of shape I am. I'm looking so old. If you don't think you would kill to look like what you did in your 30s now, let's live in the now and enjoy what we have right now. So talking down to yourself is so freaking dangerous, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, me in my 30s, I was way overweight, so I actually think I'm looking and feeling better now, but I get your point. I do miss the days when I was in that rock band. I had long, thick freaking hair, and now I'm literally drugging myself to hold on to what I,
right,
the layer I still have. But not talking down to yourself. I mean, listen, obviously you don't want to be an Eeyore inside your own head. You don't want to be doubting yourself and, condescending yourself. Yeah, you don't want to talk down to yourself. I mean, there's a certain level of self-awareness. You can't just assume everything you're thinking is right or perfect. You got to think things through. But yeah, constant self-doubt or putting yourself down like that. Yeah, of course, that's a vicious cycle.
I think this article is talking more to flaws, shortcomings with yourself. Like, I'm such a fat piece of shit, or I'm so out of shape, or I'm lazy. Just anything talking down to yourself. It's, you believe that shit when you keep saying it to yourself, and you're going to crush your spirit.
It's tough, though. Like I just mentioned, in my 30s, I was overweight. At some point, I realized that and had to do something about it. So it's not that I was beating myself up for being overweight, but at some point you got to be like, yeah, I could stand to lose a few pounds. Let's do something about that.
That's fine, but your feelings of validity don't come through how much you weigh, So, like, you can't beat yourself up and say, I'm a fat piece of shit. I said something to my cousin a couple of weeks ago. She was like, hey, what are you doing? What'd you do this weekend? I was like, I was such a lazy piece of shit. I did nothing. And I was saying it more for, like, I wanted to be a lazy piece of shit, And she was like, don't say that about yourself. And I was like, yeah, I was just kind of kidding,
Right.
But it is. I mean, you shouldn't talk to yourself in a bad way.
Yeah, I agree.
This is a list of choices that you'll regret if you make them, trying to save you from yourself. How about choosing to perform to please others? Oh, that's been my whole life, dude.
Right. So, yeah, this is a recurring theme of my therapy, quite frankly. So I struggle infinitely with this. Like, I always feel like I should be the last in my list of life people, of, putting coworkers first, putting your kids first, your spouse first. Like, I thought that was a noble thing to do, but it turns out it's good to put those people first on the list if you're also first on the list or whatever, like, or if you're at least all in the top three together. But it's tricky. We're all taught to not think about yourself, to do what the hero should do and put other people first, help out your fellow man.
That's right. And it all goes back to what you said before, just balance, dude. I always have that thought, like, you can't make someone happy if you're not happy yourself. That's always been a hard thing for me to think about. Like, I'm willing to sacrifice some of my happiness to make someone else happy, and it really shouldn't be that way, but I have a hard time thinking about it. This whole thing just says, like, it's exhausting to not only put yourself last, but here's a plot twist. The world doesn't need another actor. It needs the raw, unfiltered version of you that's making you the priority, that's making, you got to take care of yourself, dude, or you will be not a good father.
What if your raw, unfiltered version is the hero? I mean, does Spider-Man put himself first? No, obviously. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like society has put that message into your brain, and now I'm spending a ton of money and time with my therapist undoing all of that, trying to prioritize myself. So it's tricky. I don't know.
Are you making any leeway on it?
Yes. Yeah. I feel like I am. It's still, everyone's still ahead of me, but I'm like top three. I used to not even be on the list. So at least I'm now, top three. So that's progress.
Yeah. I noticed when you said it, you didn't say put myself first and then, my kids are next or whatever.
That's crazy. I mean, listen, my therapist has this philosophy. At one point, she doesn't have it in her new office, but she had an oxygen mask on her wall, like the kind that drops from the airplane.
Right.
And she said, it's that old, like, you have to put the mask on yourself before the women or children around you. Because if you pass out from lack of oxygen, now everyone's screwed. So take care of yourself, then you're alive to be able to help everyone else. And I get the concept. But to truly say I'm the priority, not my children, like, no. Sorry.
And maybe there's some ego involved with me. Now, I'm not saying it for you, but, like, I always felt like, I can survive long enough to put that mask on my kids, and then I'll put it on, like, I can do it.
Exactly. But yeah, I see why it would blow up for sure. I will say my sexual philosophy, and I'm standing by this one, I have always thought, like, I want to make sure she is happy. I'm going to finish anytime. Like, I'm having my fun regardless. So I just want to make sure you're good. So as soon as you've come, then all right, now pressure's off. I can do it whenever. But I feel like that is the key to a successful sex life. One of you's got to put the other person ahead of the other.
Yeah. I mean, you'll be fine. Take care of her.
I'm circumcised. I got my son circumcised. I'm not religious.
That doesn't add anything to the conversation, dude. Come on.
Hey, real quick, you want a quick humble brag?
Yeah.
Kennedy and I were, playing Yahtzee last night in the bedroom. And when we got done, I stepped on something on the floor and I pick it up. I'm like, it's a bolt. This fell out of the bed.
Oh, wow. You really got the bed rocking, huh? You were breaking it?
I reverse screwed the bed. We were playing Yahtzee so hard.
Wow, dude. That is something else. Did you fix the bed?
Not yet. I'm going to make sure that whole bed's put together properly. So I got to pull the mattress off and make sure, because now I get to see the bed collapsing at one of these points. So.
That'd be fantastic, though. Can you imagine if you made the bed collapse? That'd really give you an ego boost.
It'd be bragging rights, so we'll see.
Challenge accepted. These are all choices. If you make these, you're going to regret them later in life, says Stephen Philip Walker. How about choosing to take your loved ones for granted? Oh, that should be obvious, don't you think?
Who chooses to take their loved ones for granted? That's a very Scrooge McDuck sort of thing or something.
Yeah, completely. I don't. You're right. I would never make that choice intentionally.
That's weird. I mean, truly, that's like an evil genius sort of thing. Like, I'm going to exploit everyone around me for my benefit.
What are you doing tonight? Just taking my loved ones for granted.
Right. Go to bed
watch a movie.
so you can take money out of your desk drawer or whatever.
It's very strange.
That's a sign you're a terrible person if you've ever even had that notion.
Yes. These are choices that you'll regret later in life if you make them now. Choosing more. The insatiable appetite for more. It's like a bottomless brunch of desires. We live in a world where the mantra more is more echoes through our aspirations and material cravings. Reality check time. True abundance isn't found in the relentless pursuit of more possessions or more accolades.
I suppose, like, if you're going to take that to the extreme, that all you care about is material goods and you're constantly wanting to make more money to buy more things. Like, obviously that's messed up, but you can't live a good life alone in an empty room. My guitars, my skis, my dirt bikes, like, these are material things that I've collected that I very much enjoy. And I don't know what kind of life I'd be living without certain hobbies and whatnot. So, it has to come back to balance again. If all you want is greed and material goods, yeah, obviously you're messed up, but let's not pretend that it's wrong to want certain things in your life or to collect certain things and want 10 more radios or whatever.
There's a lot of people that disagree with you that, like, I could be, as long as I have my family or my lover, I could be in an empty room living on the street. I'd be fine.
Yeah, try that for a month. Let me know how that pans out.
I'm not saying it's me, dude. I'm saying a lot of people are saying.
I'm talking to them, but yeah. Like, that again is a hippy-dippy altruistic thing. I would be just happy with you alone in a room. After about a month, you're going to kill each other. Like, you got to have something to do, something fun to see or do. Like, come on.
Some outside stimulation.
Of course. Let's be realistic here.
All right. This is a choice that you'll regret later in life if you do it now. Choosing to go against your values or beliefs. We've been saying for years now, are you on the right side of history? What will you tell your grandkids? And I think you go against your values, your beliefs. It's going to be a real bad thing when you're laying on that deathbed if you get that opportunity.
Yeah. I don't know that I'm wired to go against my beliefs like that. It's like, I don't know. I mean, maybe there's some weird exception I could come up with, but no, for the most part, you obviously you have to go with your beliefs. Isn't that the definition of a belief?
Some people who go against their own beliefs for money, for peer pressure, stuff like that. Like, you will go against your beliefs. I'm not saying you, but like, people will do that. And sometimes it's a struggle to think, oh gosh, that's going to be really hard and it's not going to make things very easy on me, but I got to stand up for what I believe in.
Yeah, I mean, this is why I go off on a lot of conservatives that will vote for Trump, even though you're poor or you're a minority or you're a woman. You're voting against your own self-interests. That makes no sense. but about 40% of our population is currently doing it. So Stephen with the V here is telling you stop that. Vote Kamala. Okay.
That's basically what he said. These are all choices that you'll regret later in life if you make them now. Choosing yourself every time. Was mine a life worth living? Did I enrich the world and the people in it? These are the sort of questions you'll ask yourself as you approach your end days, and you want to be able to answer it with a resounding yes. Don't be a selfish prick. Don't be a selfish bastard.
I feel like we're contradicting here. Am I supposed to put everyone ahead of me, or am I supposed to always do what I want to do?
Balance, dude. Like you said, choosing yourself every time. You can't choose yourself every time because then you're just a dick.
Yeah.
But you should choose yourself sometimes.
Anytime there's a word in there, that clarifying word, choosing yourself every time, like, yeah, doing something all the time or every time is almost always going to be a flawed thing. So, Stephen with a V, what's the balance? How often do I choose what I want to do versus choosing what you want to do or my wife wants to do or the kids want to do? Like, do you have any answer, Stephen, or are you just trying to make me overthink all this and be in my head, which I also think you said I should not be doing?
Of course, it's a matter of balance, Stephen with a V says. You shouldn't live entirely for others, nor should you live entirely for yourself. If you put yourself first all the time, you'll feel empty and unfulfilled later in life. After all, true joy, satisfaction, they all come from lighting other people up, lending a helping hand, and being a service to those around you. Stephen with a V says the most rewarding journey is the one where we walk hand in hand, supporting and uplifting. Blah, 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 blah.
Right. Listen, I thoroughly agree with that, but we've talked to a lot of people, including my mom, our old producer, who are lone wolves. They're happy being alone. They exist alone. They can, by definition, almost only do what they want to do.
Yes. I see my mom. My mom never, she dated very briefly after my dad passed away and didn't care for her much. She has friends that she hangs out with, but she lives alone, has no interest in dating. And I definitely see a side of her that she loves, that everything at her house is exactly how she wants it and what she wants to do. But I definitely see some lonely moments for her. And I'm sure you see that with your mother too. Even if she doesn't acknowledge it, I'm sure she has some lonely moments. Like, we need other people. We're social creatures. We need to be loved. We need to love other people. So I get being a lone wolf, but I think it comes from pain. I think it comes from heartache,
Yeah. I mean, we're trying to tell people to be self-confident and self-reliant and whatnot, but then again, don't take it too far and just be a loner. But I definitely know people that are loners, or, the guy that lives off the grid in the middle of the woods, like he would tell you it's the best life ever. But I don't know.
John Rambo was a loner. It didn't work out so well for him.
Only because of that small town sheriff. Otherwise, he was doing just
That's right, dude. You're right. That was the end of our list here for choices that you'll regret later in life if you make now.
I will tell you, and this being in your head thing and questioning yourself and whatnot, as you're aware, Kennedy has hidden something in my house, a gift for me, and she is testing me because I bragged about how observant I am, and she has noticed how observant I am. Like, she's gotten me multiple things that she leaves around the house, and as soon as I walk in a room, I see it.
Yeah.
She finds that fun. But now she's hidden something in my house in a place that she claims I frequent. And it's been like a month now, and I can't find the freaking thing. And I'm definitely in my head, and it's driving me crazy.
Listen, have you brought it up to her like, hey, give me a hint or anything? Because this is really starting to bug you. So when do you break down?
Listen, I want to phrase it as a negative because part of me is finding this kind of fun and funny, but
Sure.
It's definitely getting into my head of like, how have I not noticed this thing? All I can pick up on is she said that it was buried a little too deep originally. And she gave me a hint the other day that maybe I'm seeing it and I think I already have one. What would that be? A tool, maybe? Something like, because I told her I went through every T-shirt in my drawer the other day because I started thinking maybe she got me a new shirt and buried it halfway down because I only wear the top half of my stack. So,
Yeah.
She's like, no, it's not a T-shirt. No.
I think it's socks. I think it's in your sock drawer.
I've been through the sock drawer too. I don't think it's clothing. I mean, I've been pretty thoroughly through all those drawers, but it's definitely not T-shirts, socks, or underwear.
We need another hint.